one of the things I would like to ask you is about like, how did you get involved at Social Chain? Like, I've read about an email that was sent, maybe, or how did you get involved in Social Chain?
Yeah, so I got involved in Social Chain by simply reaching out to Steve. So I'd been working for a media company for 4 years. I loved what I did. I was really supported. Had all the mentorship, doing very well, progressing through my career. And then I watched a TED talk that Steve, who founded Social Chain, that basically said how I built a multi-million-dollar business knowing nothing about business, which is a headline in itself, right? And I loved it. I genuinely watched it. I had no intent. I reached out to Steve on LinkedIn following that, and I'd never done this before. Never in my life had I randomly just reached out to an internet figure, because that's what it was at the time, and said, like, I appreciate you. And that's all I did. I said, hey, watch your TED Talk, super inspiring. You've gained a fan. Keep it up, my man. And it was timing, opportunity, whatever the things you have to do to get good outcomes. And he basically said, come meet me. Went and met him, met the team, and I was blown away by the unconventional wisdom of how they did things, having been exposed to a lot of agencies and media entities. And there was something refreshing about Social Chain's culture. There was something refreshing about the naivety. I think we all go through life sometimes with the curse of knowledge, meaning we know a lot about our craft. You sometimes forget, like a lack of knowledge or a lack of experience can be an advantage. And that's what Social Chain was built on, just looking at the marketing world and doing things the way that it felt right, or that the world that could give you advantages in a new media landscape. So I joined Social Chain. I maybe took about 3 months to decide if I was going to join Social Chain, because effectively at the time I was taking a pay cut. It felt like I was taking a step back from a company that employs thousands of people, progressing really, nicely through that business. They'd been great to me. I loved the work I did. And it felt a risk and a leap to join what was at the time a fast emerging startup. But I did it, and that was the start of my Social Chain journey.
So what level did you go in at on that risk?
So I joined Social Chain as an account director. So I'd been an account director for 3 years. My prior business, Bauer Media, so they own radio stations and publications and such. So I joined as an account director. Within 6 months, one thing I'd had that was an advantage is I'd not actually worked in an agency before, but I'd come from a creative media business. And Social Chain is two things. Social Chain is a publishing house, so a media entity, and it's also an agency. And the two work very harmoniously together. We often foster insight, knowledge, and the know-how to do things at scale and do interesting, creative things in social media from our publishing arm. And we feed that through to that insight and knowledge. We feed that through to our agency services. So I joined the agency business as an account director. Within 6 months, I loved the team. The business was growing quickly. I then had an opportunity I got promoted in 6 months. There was an opportunity to head up the accounts function. And then in the space of, probably the next year and a half, we just built the business globally. So we started to roll out our global, we started to get more and more clients of global significance. So opportunities would present. And it was a bit of a domino effect. We went into many projects having never done them before, and being daunted and like going, this makes us nervous. We have no idea where we start, but let's just figure it out after. And that was the mentality. It was figure it out after. And then the next time we came, it was like, oh, we did a good job there. Let's figure out the next thing. And then something bigger would come along. And that's just progressively. It was through good work, hard work. And there's a bit of a fallacy, or there's probably a perspective of Social Chain that's maybe not as common. Social Chain is very much values people. So we do things like we have lots of dogs. We had a policy of unlimited holidays. We have therapists. We do, like, you name it. We thought of initiatives that should enhance our culture and give back to the people that build the business. One thing that people don't always recognize from the optics of externally is we work fucking really hard.
Yeah.
Like, growing a business from You know, a team of, when I joined, it was maybe a team of 30 people to now 700 globally. You know, this year across our business will turn over $200 million. So like going from our roots to where that is a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges, a lot of hard work. And that's not always recognized. To your earlier point when we were discussing of the optics around success, you see the headline, you don't see everything under the headline. You know, I think entrepreneurs like yourself, any people that, you know, start a business, go on to build a business or such, is that common thread of you know, there's usually a catalyst moment that leads them to do something and take action. Because I think if you spoke to most people, everybody has this romantic vision of an entrepreneur, and everybody probably wants the association. Like, being an entrepreneur can be great. It's like freedom, autonomy over your decisions. You know, it can be, if you're successful, it can be very fruitful financially. So all that stuff is wonderful, right? It's great. What the behind the scenes is, and anyone who's run a business behind the scenes is, shit, we got to make payroll. Shit, we've lost all our clients. Shit, we're doing things we've never done before. Shit, like all these worries and this micro problem solving. And I don't think it can be underestimated, the magnitude of the pressures. And it takes a certain type of resolve and mental capacity to be comfortable in that environment. And there are so many people. I'll give you one perspective of when I first moved to the US in New York. First thing I did, I just wanted to meet the team. It was at the time, it was maybe in our New York office, maybe 10 people. And I sat down, I just wanted to understand the backgrounds of everybody. I went through, I tried to get under the skin of what the people were like, just understand them. And when it came to work, everyone had the same thread that they were missing. What they were missing in New York is a smaller business that didn't have the management structure in place. They were like, we want to be managed. We want structure. It was almost like the thing that everybody in a very structured organization says, we want more freedom. We want, and then to the opposite, that was a little more chaotic. And everyone's like, we need guidance. We need to know where we're headed. We need structure. We need to learn. We need depth. We need progression and all of these things. And it's like, oh, wow. So this is just the opposite perspective of what most people who work for larger businesses or for businesses, that's the perspective they have. So yeah, it's been an interesting couple of years.
Do you think that there's a misconception around so how long have you been with Social Chain?
So I've been with Social Chain 4 years. The business as an agency has been around almost 6 now. So I was about a year and a half when I joined the business. So
it's fair to say that you've had quite a rapid progression from joining to being, you know, US managing director.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that, I know that you're not an entrepreneur in the sense that you own the business, but you are a managing director. Therefore, you are by definition an entrepreneur, because you have to deal with all the same shit that everybody else deal with. I think that I would imagine that I'd be interested to get a perspective in terms of like what the staff in the US are like. I think people misunderstand the volume of effort that you put in, and that might be, I always describe to people, I say like, well, I worry about it in the shower. Like when I'm having a shower, I'm thinking about it. When I'm putting my shoes on, I'm thinking about it. When I'm in the gym, I'm thinking about the clients. I'm thinking about what problems that we've got. And like, it's just almost like disguising the efforts, for want of a better description. And I think that's what, and I'd be interested to see whether that's the same sort of take in the US, where there's that perception of disguised effort.
Yeah, 100%. So Social Chain, one of the reasons I joined the business is I admired the entrepreneurial flair. You know, prior to then, I had all my side hustles. I set up a light bulb business selling light bulbs because I wanted to understand commerce. You know, I have 50 domains, everything from like 3D print cloud to bit exchange. Like, innately, I've been an entrepreneur that never took the plunge, right? Yeah. So I joined an entrepreneurial business, and when I joined there, one of the things that really impressed me from what Steve and Dom were at the time, 25, and Dom 24, and like they entrusted the management team and they empowered. So it's from every team, it's very entrepreneurial in every sense of the word. So as I grew through the business, look, you should never expect anyone to care about your business as much as you. But if you create an amazing culture, which is what Social Chain had, and had this value set that truly cared about people, it meant that people cared as much about this business that wasn't theirs, probably more than they should. And I was one of those people. I treat Social Chain like my own business, which means thinking about it and obsessing over it all the time. Not just, and one of the things that I learned through that process of being obsession is that's very difficult. That's not for everybody. Like, work shouldn't be that expectation. You should never expect that of anybody. But as someone who's very ambitious, that probably had the mental fortitude to give that of myself, I was happy to do so, because I was getting so many rewards from the business. Accelerated progression, responsibility, the freedom to build the business. And operationally, myself and Katie, who runs the UK business, we've been driving the operations for the last year now. So that's full autonomy, control, and we always answer to someone. We have investors, and if anyone doesn't know, so the founders of Social Chain stepped down this year.
Yeah.
And they stepped down for personal reasons. I'm immensely proud of them both. They gave a lot to me. I learned so much from them both. But they're going to go on and do their own amazing things in the future. And during that moment, that just meant, from a business operation standpoint, as in, I've always had this element of when it comes of mental fortitude, I always had something goes wrong, I go, let's discuss it with Steve. Right, Steve, how are we going to work through this? This happens. And now there's this stark realization that hit me this summer, very much as myself and Kate, is like, oh, that ends now. We don't have that. It's okay. We've got to make decisions and be at peace with the decisions that you make in a business. And 2020 has been a reflective year for everybody. So to answer your original question around like, is the US any different? Around, I would say the biggest difference I find between UK and US is probably more to do with like the subculture or the mentality or relationship people have with business. So in the US, business is a lot more transactional than it's in the UK. I think UK media agency client relationships, they're very much built on relationships. I think in the US, it can be, relationships matter in our industry massively, but it's certainly a little more transactional. And people have a different relationship. I think we were very fortunate. We decided to follow Adland. And when we set up in the US, we thought New York, ambition, we want to set up in New York. What the byproduct we didn't fully recognize at the time was New York is not only a hotspot of culture globally, it influences the world. It's a hotspot for like immense talent. There's two types of people that move to New York. Probably when you're young, if you move when you're young, you've either come from like a sense of some form of privilege, because New York on a junior salary is unforgiving. One of the most expensive cities in the world. You cannot live if you rejoin. So you probably need some family support or, have access to finances and such. And the second people is just like the grinders, the hustlers, the immense talent. So, and both of them have immense merits of great schooling, great background, great upbringings, and like just the sheer hustlers, the entrepreneurs, the go-getters. So like you have this amazing clash of talent from every spectrum. And New York's been a blessing for us as a business that's built on talented people and getting the most out of people. Then we've been a benefactor of that.
What does an average day look like for you? Like when you're in New York, what does it look like?
So an average day for me, like everyone right now, is wake up, Zoom call, end of day Zoom call.
Pretend none of this has happened.
Let's fast
forward when you can do stuff again.
Yeah, we're in the world. So a typical day, one thing that I think is really prevalent that I try and do is I try and be an eternal student. Like social media, the world we're currently operating in, something I tell you today may not be true tomorrow. So it's really important that as someone that leads the business, I want to be the most competent in my craft. Like, period. So I spend a lot of time, first thing in the morning is, reading early. I try and do a lot of level setting. So as in I'll go exercise, I'll have my breakfast. Like I spend a lot of time in the morning just getting in the right frame of mind, learning, reading, understanding what's happening. As soon as I hit the office, the first thing that I typically do, I'll categorize my role into three parts. And you can probably relate to this in running a business. There's There's the making sure we deliver the best work we possibly can. And there are a million things that go into that, whether that's having the best people, whether that's looking at our processes, whether that's critiquing and feedback on what we do, whether that's analyzing how we're doing things, being the best work and helping our partners think in the right way. These, great work is a two-way street when you're an agency and you're a brand or a business. So like those relationships, so I spend a disproportionate amount of my time working on everything relating to our work and our clients. The other big category I do is my responsibility is to have the best people possible and help them to fulfill their potential. So that's through feedback, through consulting, through, monitoring, for having discussions with all our teams. Our business is structured into three parts, meaning, we have our client servicing functions, our creative functions, which is our production houses and different things like that. And then we have our strategy team and media and distribution. So we have a whole host of teams. So I'll spend equal merit in those factors. And then the third component, I'm going to say that businesses with lots of people, the number one thing you can do is retain harmony. And when you have lots of people that, everyone has a perspective and everyone wants to progress, to learn, figuring out how to create harmony, dealing with people's problems, I think your word is everything. When I first joined the US business, my first thing to do was understand all the legacy promises and all the problems that people felt or the injustices and fix them. So I could build trust with the team. I didn't know any of the people. I went out and that was my first job, and gaining people's respect is being a person of my word. If I say something, that's going to happen, and understanding those moments. So I would say creating harmony. And then at a macro level, it's executing against our strategy. We want to be a world leading social media and creative agency. We're on a good path to doing that. And in order to get there, it's setting a vision and executing against the vision. And there's a harsh reality of we spend a lot of time on our marketing efforts and building Social Chain as a brand, making sure Social Chain is a brand, not just the people we build. So we have some cut through and some standout. And the reality is, no matter who we employ, the only people that will care about Social Chain truly being a brand, it's not going to be the marketing team. It's going to be the owners or the person accountable. So the people running the business. So if I don't care about how Social Chain is perceived and our reputation in the US and what are our marketing efforts and how we project, no one else will care.
Yeah.
Truly care and be able to execute. So I'll spend a lot of time thinking about, what is our brand? What are we known for? What are we famous for? What do people, when you think Social Chain, what services do you think? When you think Social Chain, what work, what clients do you think of? And we put a lot of time into thinking that. And then the undertone, and you'll relate to this, is just dealing with problems, just problem after problem after problem after problem. And as the business has grown, by the time information gets to me sometimes, it means that it's gone through a lot of layers of people not being able to solve a problem.
Yeah. Come to you because shit's about to hit the fan, yeah?
Yeah, so be on the defense of problems, trying to make sure problems don't arise, but they inevitably do every day, and just staying balanced and harmony. And what I would say in my personal progression in the last, through COVID, through the challenges we faced there, through, just the challenge of building a business, I would say I have a very good mental fortitude for being really balanced when things going amazing and we do really well, and being really balanced and level-headed when everything's going wrong and there's problems everywhere. And if I was to give you one tip or secret that's been really valuable to me, it's the thing that you the thing that you want and think is the best thing ever is never as good as you think. And the thing that's horrendous and as, your world's ending is never as bad as you think. So having that perspective and recognizing that, we are not responsible for people's lives in the grand scheme of magnitude of things we do fun, interesting things. And although it seems the world may be crumbling at times, there's a reality that no one died as a result of our actions.
Yeah, it's really interesting, actually. I think that what you said there about the brand and the reputation of the brand and not really stopping with you, that was something I identified with myself at Christmas. I was kind of thinking to myself, we've created a brand locally. Like people know us for what we do, and they know us for our execution, etc., etc. But I don't just want the business to be like putting out 418% increase in inquiries from it's like so yawn. It was like so boring. Like
no one cares. The reality.
who cares?
One of our foundational principles that we tell, and we say this sounds harsh, no one cares about you.
Yeah.
And like from a creative standpoint, if you're a brand, if you assume the world cares, your customers care, like you're at a massive disadvantage. Like just assume no one cares, and that way you force your way to make them care. Like
our first line of training that any new member of team gets, the first thing I say to them is, welcome to a different way of thinking. Is all the designs that you're going to make today and over the course of the time that you work here, if you can design them in the thought process that no one's ever going to see them and no one's ever going to care about it, your job will be so much easier to be creative than you'll be worrying about somebody actually liking it. And you see with new starters, they either crumble at that logic or they go,
it's liberating.
wow, I haven't got to worry about it. And I'm like, the first day we do this thing, where first body of work that we do this thing where we all sit around the table and we all review it together. And I'll go, oh my God, I hate 1 to 20, but I like 23, 27 and 48. But that's because it's got big text and it's my favourite colour. And then Jules will go, well, I like 1, 7. And then we just show them that even the small team, we can't agree on what we like. So we need to let the internet try and decide what's the best logical foot forward for that.
Let the internet decide anything is dangerous, dude. But
okay. In the sense of like, what I mean by that is like, if you've done 100 variations of design for an event,
it's subjective. The reality is creative is the most subjective. The thing you love, someone else hates. Like that's just a reality. And actually, I think the good point, the point I usually think when the perspective of creative endeavors is often when we work with clients and partners, they don't. You don't know what you don't know. Like you probably don't know what you like until you see it, right? So I think as you as an agency or a partner, is your responsibility is to just have unapologetic conviction in what you like. And, 4 times out of 5, that's probably like you get it right. And the one time you get it wrong, so what?
My favourite exercise, and it's always a man. It's always you're dealing with a man. And they'll go, you send always in the new contract phase, we'll send over the first body of creative work and they'll go, don't like any of it. And you'll say like, is that your preference that you don't like any of it? Or you just, where is that coming from? And they're like, oh, I've seen this and I don't like this and I don't like that. And you say to them, well, we've got to come to a point where we've got to try something because you're currently stifling your marketing now by not letting anything go out. So we'll come to an agreement and we'll agree 100 images that we're going to try, and it's always the one that they absolutely hate that does the best. And like you present it back to them, they go, yeah, we're probably going to have to stick with that now, aren't we, as a theme? And you're like, yeah, like this is working for you, it's delivering inquiries.
And do you credit that to men are a little more stubborn? Is that what you're going to credit that to, or just is it the perception that we have of trying to have all the answers or something like that?
No, I think that generally, being creative is really difficult. So I'm not creative in the sense that I can create stuff. Like, give me Adobe and I'll edit you a video having never used it before because it's linear. Like, read this, learn this, do that, chop. Right, how do I add transition? Right, easy, yeah? So I learned Adobe overnight to do something, to show the guys that it wasn't that difficult. Get me to like design something, or I'm so useless at it. But like in my mind, like from a developer's perspective, I can think about what my product's going to be and tell the developers and lead them and say, this is roughly what I want. So I understand that I'm not a creative visual person. And what you tend to find with it can be men and women. What men tend to do is dislike everything, and then the women tend to get fixated on one design and want everything to look like that one design. And you talked about, well, we've got no variation on demographic because we're basically designing something specifically that you're going to like, and you own the business and you're 50 and your target audience is 25. There's a mismatch there. Whereas it tends to be easier to get stuff signed off with women, but with men, they'll just say they don't like any of it. And you're like, well, what input have you got to tell me what you do want? And they go, well, I'm not creative. What we're paying you for? And you're like, well, we're just paying us to say, like, we think that this might work. Let's give it a go. Just to give you a bit of a background, our area of expertise really is that we're really disruptive in price. So we pick up we've got companies that turn over billions down to like companies that turn over a few hundred thou, and we have the same processes, the same customer services, the same sort of plan in place. So we see some bizarre stuff. Like, we have some people that just go, I literally don't care, just make it work. And you go, fantastic, perfect client. And then you've got others that are like, can you move the logo over like one whatever? And you're like, really? And they're like, yeah. Or they're like, it's designed for a mobile optimized campaign, and then they're looking at it on their flat screen TV at home, trying to work out what they don't like about it. So it is very different to you. We have a huge educational piece with our clients to get them to think about what it is they're trying to do.
Yeah, that's universal. I think marketing, creative, they're all endeavors that anybody can do. It doesn't mean you can do it well. So most people will have an opinion. But yeah, it's the same. Like a lot of our time and a lot of our headspace on longer term clients is helping them become better versions. And it's reciprocated, clients that challenge us. I always think there's healthy relationships in having a difficult client. A, you can learn a lot from, problem solving and figuring out, a better way of working. But B, I often think they make you accountable and be the best version of you. We have a very similar philosophy of when we work with someone. Like, our view is that we should treat everybody. If we decide we're going to work with someone, whether, it's a startup in New York or it's Coca-Cola, they get treated exactly the same. And rightly so. And it came off the back of a pitch that we did, a competitive pitch there was, I think, 15 agencies, which is way too much to evaluate anything, but 15 agencies pitched for like an FMCG brand in the US. And it's a brand we still work with today. We've been working with it. It's one of our longest standing US clients. And I said, where did you find us? They went, oh, we saw you in a Social Media Week newsletter. I'm like, oh, cool. So, what you were saying, our headlines were cool. Then I said, so why did you select us out of 15 agencies? I'm sure there was great work. I'm sure there was great people, smart people. What was it? And she said, well, we got the impression, we felt about you guys, we got the impression that you were, big enough to fulfill our ambitions, but you felt small enough to care, that we weren't just going to become this byproduct of a network agency. And I was like, I'm sure I've seen that on some handyman's, van somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
Big enough to do any job, but, small enough to care. But I'm like, just that sentiment was a real reinforcement wake-up point that, how we treat our partners has to be with that philosophy. If we decide, like, our word, our integrity, our reputation is everything. So whether it's a seemingly smaller business or it's a world-leading brand, they're going to get the same level of care from us. Not necessarily the same work, different scale, different budgets, but they're going to get the same level of care.
Can I just go back slightly to something that you just said and I didn't have time to to comment on it? You mentioned, obviously you've achieved so much in 4 years. You sort of took a risk, massive lesson to be learned there. I quit. I took a 50% pay cut to leave my first job, just to get out of doing it because it wasn't good. It wasn't good for me. Like, the money was mad, but me as a person was just completely broken.
Fulfilled.
I was just chasing cash. Sat at the desk chasing cash all day. It's a couple of things that you said. I think you mentioned, a routine in the morning. I have my staff laugh at me because I literally eat the same sandwich if you leave me to my own devices. I try to explain to them it's the process of the routine that means I don't worry so much. It's kind of like, if I know that I'm doing all of these things, it means that I'm maintaining my own personal best, which means whatever I deliver on the day is the best I could have done for that day. That's why I'm obsessed with routine. And I think that for people watching this, like, it does sound like you've got a well-established routine. Like, can you just sort of give any more perspective on how important that balanced routine is in terms of being successful?
Yeah, I think if I think about routines and what they do in structure, they give you a set of rules to play by. I think there's some universal truths about success. Success generally and always is associated with three things. It's luck. Like, it's undeniable that luck plays a role.
Yeah.
Success comes from your choices, the choices that you make, and success comes from action, actually doing things. And like, you can control two of them. You can't control luck, but you can control your choices and your actions. So they're two things, and like that will, and you know, the real secret there is that more often than not, luck works with you when you do the right choices and take the right action. So like, my thing is, my morning routines, and whether you're a morning person, an evening person, because what you tend to find, if you're innately creative, your sources of inspiration aren't structured. They come in the shower, they come in the middle of the night. You find creative people. So for creative people, it's a little harder to get structure. But I can't inflate the importance of like balance for me, like total balance. So my routines, whatever they are just about balance. So I try and get good sleep. I work like crazy long hours traveling, because I enjoy what I do. But like, for me personally, like, good sleep matters because I want to feel good. I try and eat pretty healthy 80% of the time because I feel better. Not because, yes, there's some reasons like I want to look better and there's vanity reasons associated, but generally I want to be the best version of myself. And like, that's a big part. The other thing when it comes to work is I care like so much about the work that I do, my craft, the people that I work with, and I like truly care. But I also like care so much about other shit. And this is the missing piece that don't. So example, if your world is your work, which for a lot of entrepreneurs it is, when work goes horrendously wrong, which it inevitably will do, your world ends.
Yeah,
Whereas for me, I have other outlets that I care deeply about. Like, I adore kickboxing, mixed martial arts, football, like sports. And like, for me, if I'm having a bad day at work, like, I care about a load of other things. So it doesn't matter. I care about my friends, family, learning, all different things. Because I have so many interests and things that I like genuinely care about. Just this one part of my day not working, that's fine. I'm at peace with that. So my routines aren't necessarily always just about structure. They're about setting up my life so I can be the healthiest I can. I can optimize my day. I can have as much fun. Like, my pursuit in everything is like happiness. It's like feeling good, happiness. It's not hedonistic happiness. It doesn't mean like I'm out clubbing every night.
Yeah.
But it means like me feeling good and fulfilled and learning and all those things. So my structure and routine is more about like chasing these philosophical values I think are important to balance.
I've I when I started the business, I sort of dedicated everything. I kept getting fired, so I needed to dedicate everything to it. So not great at holding down jobs, and so I had to dedicate everything to it. And I thought, there is a route back after this, but you need to make this stick, because it's literally like, this is it. And I threw everything into it, and I was so focused on running the business, delivering excellence, and like, it completely engulfed me. And I'd go to see my accountant, and he'd be like, "The business is doing really well." And I'd be like, "Yeah, you can't spend any money, don't do this." And I wasn't even absorbing what my mentors were actually sort of saying to me. They're like, "You might want to actually take a salary, you don't need to take any money out, I can keep eating beans," like all this ridiculousness. And what I'd actually done was I'd put the balance completely wrong on my life, and it was crazy. So I listened to it. After I listened, I sort of decided, what do you actually enjoy other than coming to work? Because I love working. So I made a list of all of the things that I liked doing. So got myself another season ticket at Forest. I was a season ticket holder for years and I stopped going at the start of the business. I hadn't been to a match for 3 years, got a season ticket, got a PT at the gym, not been really involved in the gym. I lost loads of weight. Business made more money, made more money. I've been on this pursuit of happiness, which is caused my family find it bizarre because my family are just like stuck in like the traditional sense of what being happy is. Like, oh, you've got a good pension. Oh, you've got this and that. And it's like, but are you happy? Like, are you actually happy?
Most people chase comfort.
Comfort, yeah.
That is probably the thing that, and look, security is like innate to happiness. Like feeling secure and comfort is like nice, but the probably one thing I've learned, and you'll be the same, is all the meaningful moments that have propelled you have been when you've been most uncomfortable and most unsure and having most anxiety about that decision, and it ends up being the best thing you ever did. And that's like the common thread with most big decisions, right? Because you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's like one of my favorite philosophers. I think Joe Rogan says it, but I do love that philosophy.
So it's very much I think that we've moved into a time where you talk about balance there, but I think that's one thing that a lot of like people wanting to look at like achieving success is they haven't actually looked at it in a balanced perspective either. It's kind of like, you think, oh, you run your own business, you must be loaded, and you're like, well, no, I'm not loaded, but do I worry about like going to the pub or some other cost of living and stuff like that? No, I don't necessarily worry about that, but I'm definitely not loaded. And if I was loaded, I wouldn't spend my money because ultimately it doesn't actually make you happy buying things. Like I would say I've become tighter the better the business has become. Personally, I've become tighter because I realise it's got nothing to do with cash. It has nothing to do with money anymore.
You have a perspective of valuing things differently. You probably value experiences, your time, all of those things more than a material possession. So
I think the thing I value the most is the fact that the staff come to work here every day and choose to come and work for our business, which I think when I realised that that's what the staff were doing and I realised that I'd got the culture right and I was like, actually, this is what I was wanting to do, not...
Craving, yeah.
Yeah, this is what I was wanting to crave. So can I ask you, it's all been very positive, but there must have been some setbacks. You must have had something that you just thought, that was not great. And yeah, how did you overcome it? What did you draw upon to overcome a setback?
I'm going to give like a really cliche answer. I'll go back. I'm going to zoom back to my childhood. My dad's from Bulgaria, and he used to tell me, and it feels a weird thing to hear a parent say to a child, but from a very young age, he would tell me like, you're mentally strong, which is like a weird thing to say to a 4-year-old, but there's a cultural and a language difference. And he would say, you're mentally strong. So I grew up through my life thinking that nothing can break me, right? Like whether it's true, neurologically, or whether I've just come to believe that from being told it at a young age. Like that's what I carried through. And I genuinely haven't, of course I've faced adversity every single day. I think if I describe to some of the teammates, like some of the people I work with or people external, some of the shit I have to deal with, they would like go, I don't know how you manage sometimes, but I don't see it as that. Everything that I look at is my perspective. I look at like what's in my control. And the way that I deal with adversity is just not worrying too much about outcomes. And there's like a supreme confidence in knowing, before I had what you could argue is seemingly success in career or in life or financially or things like that, I was just as happy before. I was just as happy, growing up in Barnsley, like playing football every day, wanting to be a footballer. I was super happy. When I went to was in a band and did those, I was super happy. When I went to college, I was like super happy. When I was like working in a call center, like I was just super happy. Like I consider myself very fortunate to just be a happy person. And I know that's not the same for everybody, right? But I will count my blessings and I'll take that and run with that. So I face adversity like everybody every single day. And my way of dealing it is just only controlling what I can control, or having that perspective.
That's an amazing answer. Your dad is a hero.
Yeah, look,
It is neurological. I've done a lot of research, and I have invested a lot of money and time into finding a life coach. And this person is just someone I just go and go, mama, mama, and she'll just go whatever. And I spoke to her this morning for an hour while she was walking her dogs and like we were both walking, and I spoke to her an hour, just the morning chat. And she it is neurological. She said that strength of character, like your dad saying that to you, actually has convinced you from a young age.
Yeah, 100%. And look, we all have a natural disposition, and we'll have genetic advantages and disadvantages in the same sentence. But like, I truly value, I can hold back and go, you know, I was put in high stress situations, or situations where people may allow the pressure to get to them. And because I had this belief that nothing can break me, suddenly the outcomes of that were like, I handled the pressure and I was fine. And then the other thing is like evidencing through your life, like experience matters. Going through like lots of different things, you will be a different human being in 5 years than what you are today. So like that manifestation of all those mini experiences. And like one thing, I was very lucky because I've had we didn't talk about like my career, but mine's been like football at a high level at 16, getting injured, to like being in a band playing Glastonbury, to like just doing interesting things. And I've absorbed so much from all those seemingly random experiences that led me to find a career that I never knew I wanted, a career that I never knew I found passions that I never knew I even liked. And I've been on a path that's taken me around the world. And I say social chain as a vehicle. If there's like one thing I want to leave, it's that I'd like to continue the legacy of the business, a business that changes people's lives. And I don't mean that in a fugazi bullshit, romantic way. I mean, genuinely change people. For some people, that's like financially, they get lots of financial rewards. For others, that's like they learn so much. For some people, that's they make their best friends and they forge a relationship in, for others, it's like career progression, accelerated progression, because they deserve it and they're fully capable and they're exposed to things that they wouldn't in a more corporate environment. So whatever that is, like my vision is to continue the legacy of a business that can change lives. And that's different for everybody. That's not all the same, but it sounds a little like marketing bullshit, but it's the genuine truth.
No, I bought into all of that. I believed every word you just said. I tell you something that's really interesting. I described myself. So I'm helping a rapper at the moment. And he sat with me, and we've been for a gym, we've been on a country walk together, all the usual things you wouldn't expect to do with a rapper. But I researched and I saw what he liked to do, and he sat with me and he said, like, why are you helping me for nothing? I don't get it. And I said to him, you don't understand. I am like the nearly made it man. I was like, I nearly made a professional footballer. I was nearly good enough to be a professional cricketer. I was almost a scratch golfer. I was really good at swimming. I've got a black belt in taekwondo. Somehow, from all of these things that I put all this effort into as a child, I never made the Olympics or the World Cup team. I blame my mum's cooking is what I've boiled it down to, right? It's because my mum couldn't provide me with the diet. But I feel like as a child, by putting yourself in those sort of sporting environments, you learn to fail, and you learn that you can't win every time, and you learn that losing can motivate you to be better. And it's really interesting. One of the common themes that a lot of the people that have been on Spotlight have got in common is we're all failed sports people. It's crazy. It's a very, very common trait.
You apply it's the same foundations, like to be good at anything. You want to be the best hairdresser in the world. Like, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to be disciplined. You're going to have to care. You're going to have to just put the hours in. And you get that, I think, from sport. Like, I think sport's a wonderful foundation. And it doesn't have to be sport. It can be a creative endeavor. But having one of the questions that I often ask people in, in an interview, because I care more about character. Like skills, you can demonstrate, you can learn, you can develop, but character, I think is it's not necessarily innate, but it matters more to me. And one of the things that I like to see in people is I want to understand what they're passionate about. So I think people that get obsessed and passionate about something, doesn't matter, it can be pottery, gardening, clothes. It doesn't matter to like what you're passionate about, but like people that care, I think become more interesting people, and as a proxy have more potential.
Is that something you've learned along the way on your journey with your interviewing?
Yeah, I think so. We've gone through an accelerated hiring process. We've made so many wrong hiring decisions, and we've made so many amazing ones. And what I try and do in that collective knowledge of going through those processes and going, when did we really get it right with this person, and when did we get it wrong? And the common thread was that the characteristics we had of all the people we got it right with, they were humble, they were nice, they were very hardworking. Like there's a bit of a, and you spoke about it before, balance. There's this hard work has this negative connotation attached to it in the world today, and it certainly shouldn't. It's just like a truth. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be respectful of people's, mental tolerance, fragilities, work balance. People want other things in their life, but like universally, like hard work will get you pretty far. Like
It will,
it's something you can control. It's something like regardless. So like they've been hardworking, and then they've always had this like appetite and ambition to learn, like ambition to progress. So they're like 4 characteristics that I've noted, regardless of amplitude, role, talent, seniority. And they seem to be common threads of great people. So I've kind of learned that, and like they all have, something they really care about. And when I say passion doesn't have to be a sport or something as prescriptive. It's just like they care about things, and that translates to their work. People that go through life that are a bit passive, that don't really care about things, how can they care about their endeavor, their craft, their work? So for me, it's a hidden quality that I would probably look for.
I think that's very much a changing way of recruiting as well. I think we do work with a lot of recruiters, and it's very much the standard protocol, your CV, your qualifications, etc., etc. And when I first started recruiting, I tried all of those things, and all I ended up with was, on paper, the perfect employee, and they had no passion. Like they're just on paper, like first in business marketing or whatever. You think, oh, brilliant. And then most of the staff that we've got have got very average degrees, which basically they look like they had way too much fun at uni. But Jules, who works here, Jules, who got in contact with you, she's the head of production. She stiffed me on the first interview. She sent me an email in the morning saying that she'd got another job and she wouldn't be coming to interview, and felt it only polite to let me know. And then she rang back ballsy 10 days later when the job had fell through, and was literally like, yeah, just ringing you up. The job didn't really materialise. I know that I didn't come to an interview and let you know like an hour before, but I was like, do you know how many people didn't let me know that they weren't going to come to the interview? Do you want to come in? I was like, talk to me now. I'll interview on Monday. I literally gave her a job on the spot, took her up to the office, like, this is where you're going to be working. No, it was on the Friday. And I said to her, there's only one condition. She was like, what's that? I said, you've got to start on Monday. Not a great degree, just like me, but the passion and like the commitment to the job, and like how far we've been able to develop her based on the fact that she wants it. Like
you can go so far just with an amazing attitude and an eagerness to get better, and then the antithesis of that, the most experienced, the most talented people with egos that wouldn't have the humility to keep learning and to give, look, they can be toxic in a company. Like we like from a recruitment standpoint, we value character, and that's a personal opinion of mine, but we also like our ambition is to be the best social and creative agency in order to do that. Like recruiting talent goes way beyond. That's why the brand matters. So we spoke earlier a little bit about brand. Like what we're famous for and what people know us for is very much a beacon for talent. It's one of the reasons in the UK and in the US we invested quite a lot in how our offices look. Although offices seem a distant memory today, Like offices mattered to us because I couldn't name another business in the UK where people would, Instagram stories share, like make all their friends jealous about like the place that they work more so than Social Chain. And that as a recruitment tool, it was never a conscious effort that was intent, but when we retrospectively look back at like great decisions that were made, that were intuitive, had all these byproducts that meant that we could recruit the best talent in wherever we were operating because we had this amazing employer brand. We had like things that appealed to people, being like freedom, autonomy, investing in people. And it wasn't always that we were the highest paying. And it's not that, like, my view is that everybody wants more money. And everybody, like, my ambition is to get to a place where Social Chain can be the highest paying agency in the world. We reward our people and we have the best people and we can reward them. Are we there quite yet? No, but we're on taking steps to doing things like that. So yeah, we could go on for days about recruitment and other things.
Do you think that are you aware as a business, like, are you distinctly aware as a business, like how much Social Chain has influenced other businesses? Are you aware of, like, I know that, like, I started the call and I was like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, are you aware of it?
Look, it's been a conscious thing that we would hope that even outside of our industry, some of the things that we maybe drew a spotlight on would influence businesses to be better or to care more about their staff or to have, more interesting policies that better work. So it's been a conscious effort. I get all the time that, like, people are sick to death of seeing us on LinkedIn. But one thing that we obsess over, like, we do obsess over visibility. And, like, for me, if we go to a brand and we say, like, our innate ambition is to, like, make you famous as a brand. We want everybody to like, care, and buy from you, right? If that's an ambition and we can't do that for ourselves, like, what message does that send? So the fact when people tell me I'm sick to death of seeing you on LinkedIn and flooded, I'm like, I love that. That's like music to my ears, because there's a real conscious effort from us to amplify the things and our values as far and wide as we can. And we do that through our people. And we do it through, a disproportionate amount of investment in marketing ourselves.
My question was, though, my actual question was, are you aware? Are you aware of the impact that the business has had?
Yeah, I think on a surface level, yeah, I think we do. We get a lot of feedback. Like, we have enough humility to listen all the time. And I know Social Chain from, look, there's two areas where I know we have an impact. So many agencies copy things we do. Like, that's one thing. And a lot of businesses get frustrated when people or competitors copy them. I love it. I'm like, cool, we're doing the right things. It makes sure that we have to keep doing the next thing. It keeps us experimenting and trying new things and doing new formulas of success. So, like, for me, that's one thing. When it comes to, like, the impact we've had on other businesses, like speaking to you and you saying, you've helped us, like, that's more than we could ask. And I'm sure that's happened, with many businesses. I'm, as someone, I live in New York now, but, like, I grew up in Barnsley from, rather poor beginnings. And
which part of Barnsley is it? I know Barnsley well.
Wombwell.
Okay, I know Wombwell, yeah. I know.
Yeah, so I've always been in Wombwell. Even when I worked in the Manchester office, I would drive from Wombwell every day. So I'd do 4 hours. I'd be up at 5:30, drive, go to the gym, work all day, drive. Like, I did, like, and that's the hard work bit that I was doing 4 hours of driving a day, going to Sheffield. But, like, so when I have that perspective, I'm kind of now in different phase in my life. And I come back and, like, I went into Sheffield city centre, and someone ran across the road. This is in the peak of COVID, so no one's coming. Runs over across the road in mass saying, "Stop! Stop! Stop! You're Oliver from Social Chain." And, like, that doesn't happen to agencies. Like, and she said to me the same. She went, "I'm a social media consultant, and you guys inspire me so much." And, like, so I know we have a far-reaching impact, and I'm aware of that. And, like, it fills my heart with, like, on one hand, you don't know how to take a compliment. It's a bit like, oh, you know what I mean? But I feel that it's amazing to hear.
I think for me, it was kind of like, to give it to you in my own perspective on like, just speaking to you as somebody that the social chain has influenced us. I mean, Nottingham's small. It's a small place. Family from Nottingham, always thought I'd have a business in Nottingham. I had much loftier ambitions than that when I started. I did, but I didn't want to be too far in front. And my mentors happened to be my godparents, and Mike was the FD of Boots, Edinburgh Council Estate, FD of Boots. My auntie, Clifton Council Estate, sold out to Office Angels, and they're like proper 1980s like business people. They've given me the best foundation for doing everything correctly. But then we were just hitting this loggerheads, right? And they were like, what do you mean you've got no rules? What do you mean you've not got like a staff handbook for this? Or what do you mean you have unlimited holidays? Like, it's crazy. And I was going to, but there's this company in Manchester, right, called Social Chain. Like, they seem to be doing all right. So every time I'd get like a Social Chain article, I'd give it to them, right? Just to get them off my back, because they'd be like, oh, this mysterious company in Manchester. And this has been happening for years, that you guys have been going. And I've used it as a way to sort of sell the idea that being kind and trying to create like a happy place to work is the best way. And I always say, like, this business is the most profitable when the business is the happiest.
Yeah.
I really feel that the legacy that you guys at Social Chain will leave is actually that it's okay to build a business based on happiness.
Yeah, and look, that means a lot, dude. We do put a disproportionate amount of our thinking resource into trying to make that happen. But don't get it twisted. Like, we do so many things that we should be better. One thing, like the rapid acceleration of a growth of the business means that like we do so many things that we've never fulfilled. Our learning and development program, Social Chain's been a bit of a sink or swim. People can get the best career out of it, but people haven't been supported. And that's not good. Our ambition is to really invest in learning and development. Never got that bit right. It's a renewed focus. We got the hedonistic stuff right. We got to a point with the unlimited holidays that was really interesting, actually, where people weren't taking enough holidays, like genuinely. So we had to do a new thing where we said to them, right, you've all got unlimited holidays, but you can redo your own contract and like write how many holidays you want. Like if you think you need 50 holidays and you can be the best at your job, like just write that in your contract. That's fine.
Yeah.
But like take advantage of this, because all the unlimited holidays is like a high trust business. And yes, when you get to sort of Social Chain scale, a few people abuse the system. But the vast majority don't. And the upside of giving people the autonomy to do as needed and when, that's been like groundbreaking. And it's like amazing to hear that other businesses go, that's a cool philosophy. It's worked for those guys, but it's also got to be tapered with like a good business story. Like, don't think everything we do is just because we're nice people. We like to think we're nice people, but we also recognize that happy, productive people that love the company they work for leads to good outcomes.
Yeah.
They'll care about our clients more. They will be more committed. They will work harder. So like, it's not as, I'd never say it's as contrived as that, but there is there's a rule about like doing the right thing. Not just doing something to tick a box will just lead to, good outcomes. And that's kind of a philosophy we hold.
So we've moved the holiday policy currently is don't take the piss. That's literally our holiday policy. And it's kind of like, if you think you need a holiday, you probably do. So take one. And then we've recently introduced this work from anywhere. I trialed it last year. I went to Ibiza last year a few times. So I trialed it in Ibiza last year. I was like, we're too busy for me to stop completely. But I'm just going to take my computer. I always take my computer everywhere anyway. But I'm just going to work whilst I'm on holiday. So I allocated about an hour to hour and a half in the mornings to stay on top of things when, people aren't even up. it reduced my stress and it reduced the business's stress. And really interestingly, some of the staff watched me do it and realised that that would maybe work better for them. So Jules has just been to Havar. She had loads of holidays. But last one she went to Havar, she went there for 10 days. And she took a laptop with her and she just ticked off the things that she needed to do. She probably worked for 30 or 40 minutes maximum a day, but she came back without that stress of work. I've got to go back to it. And I was really clear to the team. I said, like, that works for her. You have to understand that that's her balance and that works for her. It might not work for you, so don't feel under pressure to take your laptop with you when you go away, wherever it is. But if you do feel that it'll make it better for you to do that, take it with you and do the job that you need to do when you're there and get the balance right.
I think the challenge with those things is, as human beings, we always project our own opinions or expectations on others, even subversely. So I think as a company owners, like setting the guidelines, it's been like really clear that you've got these clear set of values and it's like total autonomy and you choose, and it's high trust. You choose where you work, how long you work, what you do. There's never an expectation, but here are my like personal values and this is what I'm going to do. And like, if you can remove that's it's a hard balance to get, and like, you'll not always get it right, but I think you're doing it for the right reasons. So it can only lead to good outcomes, you know. Dude, I got 5 minutes.
Yeah, we've got 5 to go. I will wrap it up. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's too good. I can't thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, dude. Is there anything? And like, when I'm back in the UK, I'll probably be back in the UK in the back end of October, but we should connect. I'll come down to Nottingham.
Yeah, that would be wicked. Thank you. Yeah, literally, like, I know it sounds like really like noddy, I suppose, but like it has like, Nottingham's such a weird place, right? It's small, it's compact, right? I know my city. I can walk across it in 10 minutes, any direction. I know where everything is, I know where all the businesses are, and it's so linear in like what its concept of like what a business should be like. It is slightly behind, and so it has been difficult for me and the guys to come here and be like, right, we're not doing normal here. We're like, and you guys, I know it sounds crazy, but you have set an example for us to like follow, really, and just think, we're not trying to be social chain by any stretch of the imagination, but you can think to yourself, it's okay to come to work with a slightly different set of goals that can ultimately lead you in a better outcome position than what you originally perceived would be the right way of getting there.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it, dude, and thank you so much for the kind words. I think that if anything we do inspires and like you go, that's cool. I encourage anyone to steal anything that we do that's helpful and just take it and run with it and do your own things. It's like, on top of that, like, take what we do and do it better. There'll be things that we can't do for you know, either operational reasons that I would think it should be done. So like, there's a whole like, there's things in the US we physically can't do. There's much tighter regulations around working hours and salaried staff, and rigid in New York. There's like governed laws for people that earn under $65,000. They have to like stop work, and there's different. So there's a whole host of things that we do in the UK that we can't do in the US. But yeah.
My post-COVID plan, no, my pre-COVID plan was going to be, I decided that I could rent a villa, right, where for the summer, where the staff could have unlimited access to this villa, so that they could, if they needed like a summer break, but they wanted to like not use their holidays or work or just have some kind of like sun.
Dude, that's an even better idea now in a COVID age. Like a pre-COVID, that's an even better COVID idea.
So that we're on this D2N2 program. It's like an accelerated program. And I was the first visit he did after lockdown. He said, so what do you see happening next summer? And I was like, I'm going to stick with a villa, potentially in Ibiza, where we can all just go and work and relax and something like that. And he was like, it's quite a crazy idea. It's like, well, maybe not next summer, but like,
that sounds a wonderful idea. We've got people remotely all over now. We had a lot of problems with British people and visas and all the chaos. And we're getting half of our guys. I say half. Got half of our LA team that was going to be our old LA team. There's 4 guys going out to Costa Rica just to get on the same time zone, rent a villa, and just work from there. And we're going to figure out how we can facilitate that. So we've got something similar that, like, dude, that's a great idea. I love it.
Nice one. Well, safe flight. Thank you for speaking to me, and hopefully catch you in October at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Take care, dude.
Cheers. Ciao. Thank you.
Bye.